My name is Nick, and as you know, we're working with the Florida Citizens Alliance, and we're doing a project on homeschooling. And I just wanted to see if you could just say your name and exactly where you're located, maybe a little bit of background about you.
Sure. My name is Larissa. I live near Naples, Florida, and I've been a homeschool mom for 14 years.
So in general, would you say that you prefer homeschooling over the public school system?
Absolutely. I think their kids' education has been much stronger than it would have been had they been in the public schools. I can't comment on the private schools because they're all different. But they've been able to push themselves and forge ahead, and they've been able to study what they're interested in studying from the best sources that offer the courses they're pursuing.
What homeschooling program or curriculum do you use?
I tend to follow my sister-in-law's footsteps. She homeschooled up until high school. I research each textbook individually and pull the textbooks, and I've gone through many different textbooks. I have a whole bookcase full of textbooks we've discarded. Pull the textbooks after I've reviewed them that I think are strongest in their subjects. And then from the point of high school, once we reach high school, they can start taking classes online from a variety of sources.
What exactly does homeschooling entail on the parents' part? I mean, how much work requires of you to kind of construct a curriculum for them, and how does that kind of contrast with the available resources that you get?
The most amount of work that has been asked of me is up until the kids can read independently. Once they're able to read independently, a lot of it is self-taught learning.
What is a normal day-to-day experience like for you as a homeschooler and as for the children, and just like how do they go about their day? Do they start it at the same time they normally would in a traditional classroom setting? How do they get these breaks? Do you think that it's more beneficial that they are from home? And how do you think that translates compared to an in-classroom kind of setting?
My three older children are all very involved with sports. So they would originally begin, the older two who are now in university, begin the day with sports. So from 6 to 8 a.m. they'd be swimming, and then they come home and have breakfast, and after breakfast they would sit down and begin their studies. The classes are not timed. We spend a bulk of our time doing mathematics. It takes 2 to 3 hours a day. And everything else gets fit in around that. And then back in the afternoon, they're back to sports the second time.
Are you pleased with it? Would you ever continue to do that? Would you ever, be enthusiastic for your grandkids to do the same thing? Or would you ever want to put them back into a normal, traditional, in-person classroom?
My older boys they started doing dual enrollment at the local university when they were 14. And one day, one of the two came home and said to me, "Mom, I think homeschooling in hindsight was the best opportunity we could have had for education." He said, "You couldn't believe how many students are sitting in these university classes and they have no idea what's going on. They don't know how to study." They've been chaperoned through the public school systems, but they've never taken the learning upon themselves. Whereas in a homeschool setting, a lot of the responsibility is up to the students.
For me, I've been through in-person classrooms. I've never been home taught. And when you're saying that, kind of makes me remember being in college or in high school and seeing everyone sitting there texting on their phone. Now we have social media. There's a lot of things that are lacking, and a lot of people don't know how to study. So what are some of the values that you think that as a parent, people try to bring in to a homeschooling environment to help their children focus on, studying and being more focused?
I can't say. I think usually when people envision homeschooling, they imagine that mom or dad is sitting at the table with a blackboard or a whiteboard, drawing out examples and teaching the entire lesson. And in my experience, homeschooling has been nothing of this sort. Again, until they're reading. Once they're reading, they're on their own for the most part. I mean, I sit down, I check their work, but they're learning to teach themselves. They're learning to answer their own questions. And my job is to supervise. I say I'm more the guidance counselor.
So for parents that are potentially interested, there's, like I said, there's a whole new wave of people that are becoming exposed to homeschooling and online learning. And this, it may shape how this is more widely accepted down the line for a different reason than before. But I mean, what exactly do you think your advice would be for parents that are considering now to do some type of homeschooling?
I think a lot of parents set out with academic ideas of who their students will become or what they're going to accomplish. And I really think you have to sit down and read the student and read the child. One of the benefits of homeschooling is that if you reach a lesson that requires extra little work, we can spend 2 or 3 days learning the material. We can also skip lessons where it comes easily.
There's more of obviously an awareness around the student that you're learning because they are your child. So you know how to teach them maybe in a different way than a teacher that has a classroom full of 30 students would be able to. Would you say that's probably a pro to homeschooling?
Absolutely. I mean, if you think back to your own education, and I think back to my high school education, there were times when I'd be sitting in the back of the classroom and I would wonder what on earth the teacher was talking about. But the class keeps moving. So unless you take it home and teach it to yourself, you've missed out on a whole lesson. Whereas when you're homeschooling, you can sit down next to your child until you're confident that he's learned the material, and then you can move ahead.
For anybody that's just getting into homeschooling, like where exactly would they go to begin this whole process? To find out how to accumulate the textbooks, what they need. Where is like the kind of the guidebook for people just getting started with this?
I think the first place to start is to find someone who is homeschooled and ask them what they've done. It makes a big difference in having someone around that can encourage you and share some of the research that they've invested in homeschooling over the years. There are a number of online schools as well that make it much easier, but as a parent, you don't have a say necessarily in the material that is taught. So there's different levels of homeschooling. It really depends how hands-on you want to be.
Is there anything else in particular that you feel like that would be beneficial to share?
I think it's certainly anyone can homeschool, no matter their background. I've spoken to Spanish-speaking families that are worried they won't be able to teach English. I've spoken to other foreigners who are living here who would love to homeschool but are worried that their children will be missing out. And again, I don't think it's so much about what your personal education as a parent. Any parent can homeschool. Any parent can homeschool.
And once again, you said earlier before that the greatest thing that you can do is reach out to people in your direct surroundings. Ask people that are already homeschooling. Do you know any other resources that you would want potential homeschoolers to know about?
I know FLCA has developed a very good website. And I hope they put it out there and it's available for everyone to see soon. But I think their website answers any question that any parent may have about homeschooling.
Well, I hope that things are going good there. And, thank you so much for your time. And if I have any further questions, I will definitely follow up with you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nicholas.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.